I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to the Business Renovator. Stories of survival in the modern age. I'm intrigued to find out much more about that. Before we do, though, I'm going to ask that if you're watching this live, great, happy that you're here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. And if you're watching this on the replay, remember, go #replay and let us know where you're watching from. And if you could help us out, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'll help me get us vanity, a unique URL. That would really be grateful to have that. And I want to have a word from our sponsor right now. So have a listen to this. Do you have a question for a business coach about business, starting a business? Maybe it's relevant to team, time, money, or some would say exit strategy. I also look at that as futures, because not everybody wants to exit their business. Maybe there's something else that they want to do and expand, turn it into a franchise, or add another location. So if you have a question for a business coach from Focal Point, I'm one of a couple of hundred around the globe. So shoot us an email. Let us know that you would like to have your question answered. And if I don't have the answer to your question or don't feel I have the experience, I'm happy to introduce you to one of the other couple of hundred around the globe. I'm excited today. I met a lovely lady not long ago and virtually. And the reason we're having this episode, Stories of Survival in the Modern Age, is because of Sarah. She's got 30 plus years of well-honed marketing and administrative media evaluation experience and life skills. Her career has been included being on the U.S. staffs of both Warner Brothers and Consumer Products and a national broadcasting company, as well as working as a marketing liaison with the BBC, Granada Television, and various radio stations in her native England. And you'll notice that she's from England by something when you meet her. And Sarah's relocated to the U.S., got married, burned out, moved back to the U.K., then back to the U.S. again, where her and her husband, Brett, currently call our hilltop hideaway home. I'm going to bring Sarah up right now. Welcome, Sarah.
Hello.
That's the dead giveaway.
I know, right? I couldn't resist. It was either that or send you some love.
Yeah, either one's okay. Nothing to do with your accent. That wouldn't have told anybody, right?
Thanks for having me on, Phil. This is so exciting. I'm really happy to have been invited, and B, to get an opportunity to chat with you some more. I know that, as you said, we only met recently, and maybe we'll chat a little bit about that, or maybe you've spoken about that before on here, but happy to be here.
Yeah, so the idea of the show is, the premise is talking to people like you around things like sales, marketing, and mindset. And I know both of us have a strong belief in mindset as being foundational. So it should probably be mindset, sales, and marketing. But for some reason, it runs off my tongue easier: sales, marketing, and mindset. And with your background and your experience and the things you're doing in the world for the people you care about, I just thought, man, people need to get to know who you are. And one of the things I want to do is I want to show a picture from your there. I saw this picture from your website and I said, oh, what a great picture. Where is this taken?
That is actually in Florida. It was my first visit to Florida a couple of Christmas and / New Year's ago. And our friends have got a place, they haven't got it anymore, that was close to there. And they were like, oh, you got to come down and see this. When the waves hit the rocks, it just explodes. And we literally just stood there for, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes, just absorbing that all in. Because I don't know about you, Phil, but I love to be in nature. And particularly, I have an affiliation with the water. I mean, I'm super grateful where we live, as you said. I call it our hilltop hideaway. And we have a great view of the city. But to me, the water is everything. The energy that we get from it is just, yeah. So that's in Florida. And it's my only time I've been to Florida.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've never seen that in Florida. So thank you for telling me that's where that was. I would have never guessed. And I have been to Florida a few times.
It's down the east side of the Panhandle. It's about Palm Beach-ish, just north of Palm Beach-ish.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. One of my favorite places to go in the U.S. is in and around the San Diego area. And I really love Mission Beach. And I haven't seen anything like this, that dramatic there. But what I do like about it is the endless view and the pelicans flying over and the boardwalk, and the temperature is mild. It's not crazy hot.
I love that. And I often say, whenever we go down to the beach or to the ocean, I'm in awe of the power of nature and just the ability to stand there, to breathe it in as that tide is coming in and out. And I sort of sync my breathing up to the tide flow, and just look out at the expanse. And it's just like limitless possibilities.
Yeah, that's what I like about, if you look beyond the crashing of the splashing of the wave on this picture and you see the horizon, that's what I get, that same kind of limitless thinking that anything's possible and there's things out there I haven't even thought of yet. Right. And every time I talk to different people, I learn about things that I didn't even know that existed. And that's not the nature things. It's like the ideas that come from the minds of the people I've had the opportunity to bump into, connect with, learn from. Yeah. It's just amazing how we can help each other. So I just wanted to show this picture because both of these people is you. And we talked a little bit about this pre-show. And I have a picture. I'm not going to bring mine up because
there she is. I keep it. I keep her on my desk to remind me of never losing that childlike spirit, that childlike wonder. I don't know about you, but or your viewers, I love to remember that childlike spirit and to still embrace it. If it rains seldom here in LA, which is where I'm currently living, but when it rains, Phil, I go out and I splash around and I just go out on the grass and I spin around, because when we're young like that, we do those things without any inhibition. And I find that as we advance through the years, that sort of disappears. You know, people will get out of the car and they'll run between the raindrops to get into the store or wherever they're going. But I like to take my time. I'm happy, as we say.
You're not made out of sugar.
It rains a lot where I come from.
Yes, it does. I'm from there too. A long time ago. That's why I have a Canadian accent, not a British accent. I've had it though, and that's another story for another day. But I've experienced but it's caused me to have some. I've been called American, and I've called all sorts of things, just because. And then they couldn't understand me one time when I came back from the UK, because as a kid we're like sponges. I'm glad you brought that childlikeness up, because when I was in some training a bunch of years ago, I was fortunate enough to be introduced to the Dale Carnegie training, which is actually an amazing program. And they do put you through some real live exercises that get you to be childlike. And they really encourage us to be childlike, to have that essence, to not be afraid to explore, try things, fall down, get up and carry on. As adults, we tend not to do that as easily. Yeah, no, I think that's a critical thing and that's why I keep that picture of a young me there, right there on the bottom of my computer on my desk here, because it's a reminder to never lose that. Yeah, and it's easy to get caught up and get lost.
I have other post-it notes as well, like be your authentic self and don't forget to blink. And I have one on here, it says gold thread, to remind me to sit up straight, because when I'm sat at the computer all day, I'll do this after a while.
Yeah. That's true. And I have a elevated desk. Was easier to lift it before I added all of this technology so I could be virtual, but I do lift it every once in a while so I can stand up and change that posture. So you have your own podcast, and yours is different than mine. It's called Stories of Survival in the Modern Age. Can you tell us how that came about?
Yeah. So right before the summer last year-ish, a girlfriend and I were, actually, no, let me back up even further. A girlfriend and I were having a conversation probably about 24 months ago, 2 years. And she was saying, you know what you are, Sarah? You're a survivor. You've survived looking after an elderly parent. You've survived watching somebody pass away. You've survived an international move, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And you've survived financial hardships. You've survived meeting and marrying somebody from another continent. She said, I know, you should start a blog. What could we call? Stories of Survival in the Modern Age, she said. I know, let's do it as a podcast. I was like, yeah, really great idea. Went on, registered a domain name, parked it, did nothing with it for about a year. And then, you know, the world as we know it changed last year for many reasons. I just lost my dad. And then I had to go back to England. I had to shut up his affairs, offload his house, have a funeral. And then when I came back, I had to go through this grieving process for my dad. And it was the one thing that struck me was the realization of what matters most in life. And it's not about the accumulation of stuff. It's not about materialistic stuff. It's about the relationships. It's about being and spending time with the people we love. And I realized that after he passed away more than ever. And then 3 short weeks later, the world shut down. I'm fortunate that I do work from home with what I do. And so nothing changed too much for me. But I suddenly, you know, pulled out this domain name and I was like, I think it's time to do something with that. It's time for me to be okay with being seen, be okay with being heard, and be okay that I don't look perfect. I don't sound perfect. You know, there's some parts of me that's a little bit wobbly, a little bit wonky. Not everybody can understand me. But in the past, I'd always been behind the scenes. I'd be the person who runs the PowerPoint. I'd be the person who, oh, you need a Sharpie? I've got one in my pocket. You need a paperclip? I've got one in my other pocket. But don't put me in front of a camera or don't put me on the stage. And I thought, you know what? This could be a way for me to be okay with not being perfect. And one of my podcast guests last year, actually, we did a whole episode on perfectionism. Because how many times do we wait for something to be perfect before we start it?
Yeah.
All too often. I know that a mentor of us both is Mr. Jack Canfield, and he says, start before you're ready. Just start today, this minute. Oh, there he is. Look, there's Mr. Jack Canfield. And so I thought, you know what? Where the heck do I start? And so I started doing a bit of researching around. I started looking at YouTube. How do you podcast? I joined a couple of Facebook groups and asked lots of questions. And I literally taught myself the entire process from start to end.
That's brilliant.
And I also didn't invest in any fancy equipment. I wanted to show to myself that you could just do it. You could just do it with nothing fancy. Everything I have that I use still to this day is what I have on hand. Yes, I bought a fancy schmancy microphone, but honestly, 9 times out of 10, I just put my earbuds in and use the built-in microphone because it works for me.
So what you've just described is that you stepped out of your limiting self into a newer self that was not comfortable. And even when you were talking about today, I'm going to be transparent with everybody. This is your inaugural visit as a guest on anybody's live show, podcast or otherwise.
Yes.
So you're stepping out and being your authentic self one more time. And as we were talking earlier, pre-show, was the Hardwrecker talks about every master was once a disaster. And Brian Tracy, who I'm affiliated with, also, he says that, you know, the top 10% were used to be the bottom 10%. and you can't really get worse at doing anything, but you certainly can't get better by not doing anything. So kudos to you for jumping into your bestest self.
And then, not needing to interrupt, but there's another one that Jack says, and I've heard him say this in conference or at retreats before, and it's like, what do you call the person who graduated at the bottom of the class? A graduate. You still graduated, whether you graduated at the top of your class or your bottom of your class. It really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And whether you're formally graduating from something, or if you're gradually improving upon something, you've graduated to another level.
Constant and never-ending improvement.
Big fan of that.
Yeah, I love when I heard Tony Robbins say that many, many years ago. It's always stuck with me. Constant and never-ending improvement. If I'm better today than I was yesterday, or if it's then it's a growth journey.
There's another way to say the same thing in a different way, and that came from Japan. And they took over. They were terrible car manufacturers at one point in time. They made them very poorly, and people laughed and said that nobody buy them. Now they're leading in that space. And what they did was they kind of took what you said, constant never-ending improvement. I'm a fan of that. But Kaizen. And Kaizen is the same sort of thing. It's constant never improvement, always improving something today to make it a little bit better. What they did in Japan, I think, is amazing. And we take it as second nature now, is that they empowered the people to have the ability to speak up, step out of the space of you just be quiet, do the work you're getting, and they allowed them to share their creativeness, and they could fix things on the line before it became a problem, and the product is already off the line, ready for delivery. So they didn't have any Monday, Wednesdays, Friday cars like in North America. Not to say they build perfect cars, because nothing's perfect, but they're pretty darn good.
Which takes me back to the whole issue of perfectionism.
Right.
And I don't know whether that's something that's, that we grow up with, that we take on board from our surroundings, but it is a big thing, isn't it? Perfectionism, the need for it to be perfect before doing something, rather than just stepping in and doing it anyway.
You're probably familiar with this, but I'll say it anyway. I don't have it as a banner, but FAIL. The acronym stands for First Attempt in Learning. And I remember when I was listening to Jack's earlier programs before he became really famous and hugely successful. He was with Career Tracks and doing his program was Peak Performance and High Self-Esteem. And I had it on cassette. And he talked about, now I forgot the point I was going to say, but on there was a nugget that he talked about stepping out and doing things, right? And not to be afraid, or don't let the fear stop you, right?
Yeah. Well, he has this thing, doesn't he? And I've even got it on a T-shirt that I bought at one of his events. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And it's so true. Everything that you want is on the other side of fear.
Yeah, totally.
Just, you've just got to stretch yourself. And the more we stretch ourselves, the better it is next time. Otherwise, I think we're just stagnating.
One of the stories that I do remember him talking about was when he first started. He didn't know anything about, not very much at marketing, or even how to do a business plan. He talks about how he learned how to do that to get some money to fund his business. And then he did a mailer. I think he said he had about 10,000 pieces that were folded and not just in an envelope. They were marketing pieces, and you had to. He didn't know this, so he took them to the post office, and they refused to take them because the way the design of the piece was, it would get ripped up in the machines. So they actually had to tape them and hand stamp them and volunteer their time so that the post office would put them through. So what he shared in that experience, that he never did that again but he didn't know what he didn't know, and he didn't want to throw away 10,000 brochures. So now he fixed that, never did that again. So
when we know better, we do better, right?
Yeah.
When we know better, we do better. And so for me, Phil, the podcast was, yes, it was about getting out of my own way. But the theme of it really is to have heartfelt conversations with other people. And now my intent for this series, season 3, is to have them share, for me to be able to shine a light on them, and for them to see that it's okay as well. And, we've covered some really interesting topics of just getting over those roadblocks that I say trip us up from creating a life that we really love. And everybody's got a story. You've got a story. I've got a story. The listeners have got a story.
Right.
And it's like, well, what's your story? And how has it helped or hindered you? Because that's what I also like to look at is how have they evolved from their story? Like a couple of weeks ago for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I chatted with a lovely young lady from the UK, from just outside of Wales, who'd gone through a breast cancer journey. And I've got here what she said. She said it gave her the most valuable lesson to start living the life she wants now. Oh, I got goosebumps when I said that, Phil. Because isn't that true? Everything we want is in this very moment. It's not what happened yesterday. That introduction at me in the green room eating all your donuts, that's already passed.
Exactly.
What I'm going to do after I've chatted to you, it's not here yet. What we've got now is this minute, and to be fully present in this moment. And again, that took me some time to sort of grasp that concept of living life fully right this minute. And I'm sure you do that. I'm sure you live life for the now, don't you?
Most days. But you're telling me that, what I found is if I get distracted anytime, if I'm talking to somebody and it annoys the heck out of me, is if I'm getting a prop. So if I'm with somebody and they're doing it, yeah, go ahead, tell me what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It just drives me nuts. So we have actually a course to help people get over that. Where it shows up though too sometimes is I want to make sure that because I don't have a producer pushing buttons and moving things around, and I want to hear what my guests are saying, and sometimes I'm not in the moment because I'm thinking about the future, because I want to put that thing on the screen so it shows up for you. So that looks good. But then if you were to ask me sometimes if I was totally present, the authentic and real answer, not always, but I strive to be there, not move things around too much when you're saying something or any guest is saying something. So I can contribute to it if I have something that's of value.
And that's the thing, isn't it? And I'm guilty of exactly the same thing like you. I press all the buttons myself. But also I want to be cognizant of my notes that I've written, or, a reminder that, I want to just throw this quote in here.
Right.
And I had a chat with a friend yesterday, and we recorded the chat for a future episode, and we were talking about exactly that. How many times am I talking to somebody and I'm also doing this? Or are we at dinner and somebody else's phone rings or pings? And I said to my friend, I said, you know what I do? I put my knife and fork down and I'll wait for him to finish. I won't say anything. I'll just, because now you're holding me up as well. But I was saying yesterday, that's kind of a learned behavior. And it takes time to be fully present and fully in that moment and mindful that that person isn't giving you their 100%. And I feel that I am doing them a disservice by not being fully present for them either. And again, I do feel it's a learned behavior, because I have been guilty in the past of having a conversation with them, not being fully alert. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can talk half as much as we listen. And I'd be doing something at the side, or I'd be writing another email, or reading something that had popped in. And so I forgot where we started on that, but it's just an interesting concept of being fully in that moment. And I think that's at a point where we can be at our most attentive, but our most thoughtful, our most mindful, and yes, ultimately our most productive. Because if we are cognizant and fully aware in every moment, then we are fully, in that situation, we're expressing gratitude, which is, don't get me started on gratitude. That's a whole other cornerstone.
Yeah.
And I love all that stuff. I love all that stuff.
So I want to be cognizant of the time here, because I try to keep it about 30 minutes.
Oh, perfect.
But I also would like to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. Yes. So I had your website up. I'm going to put it back up again. So they can go to your website, and I know there's a form there they can fill in if they want to connect with you.
There absolutely is.
If they wanted to watch your listen to your podcast,
Mhm.
where would they go for that?
Okay, they can find that likewise on the same website.
Okay, cool.
Or I'm also on Apple Podcasts, I'm on Google Podcasts, I'm on Amazon Podcasts, I'm on Spotify. Wherever you can listen to a podcast, I think I'm pretty much there. And because I've got a triple, double-barreled name, hyphenated, I'm very fortunate that I'm just Sarah Booth Henry everywhere, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. I'm the same thing.
Excellent. Yeah, I don't have that possibility because there are other me's out in the world.
Really? And I thought you were a one-off. I'll even give you a thumbs up because I thought you were a one-off, Phil.
Yeah, I did too until I went looking, and then look at all the different me's. It's quite funny. If there was something you would want to share with the people that are listening now, or in the replay, what's one kind of thing you want to make sure they knew about?
I think, to be honest, it takes me back to what we said right at the beginning. It's to never give up that childlike spirit, that wonder. Look at everything through the eyes of a child. The first time, you feel the breeze on your skin, or the first time you see the colours change in the leaves. If people wouldn't or be more aware or more in the moment when they're out and about observing things, and just look at things through fresh eyes, we get very complacent, don't we, Phil? It's like, oh yeah, I've seen a puddle a million times, I've seen that car a million times, but look at everything like you're seeing it for the very first time. And I think that's the one thing I'd like to leave your listeners with and your viewers, is to just, embrace that childlike spirit and to never lose it, because we're on this planet in this human form as we are right now for a very short time. I remember once my dad said to me when I was quite young, "Oh, Sarah, embrace every moment, because the older you get, the quicker time goes." And I used to say, "No, Dad, I don't want to be in school," or blah, 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 blah. But it's so true. The time that we have in this life is very short, and it speeds up and it speeds up and it speeds up. So just stop once in a while, smell the roses. There's a great line from Ferris Bueller's Day Off that if we go too fast, we blink and we miss it and it's over. And that's so true. And I am fortunate. I have had many great experiences throughout my corporate career, but I wouldn't go back to that now. I love what I do, and I love being able to share these things with people. And as you can see, I get quite passionate about it. So
yeah, so
just
I want
live
to bring
for the moment and never lose that childlike wonder.
And I brought this picture back in because of the energy it represents, and the passion and the person that you are, that I've learning about as we converse and hang out once in a while. Like we said earlier, we're not long in the tooth in terms of the time we've known each other, but the energy has been mutually shared and fantastic, is from my viewpoint anyway.
I appreciate it.
So I thank you for being here and being a guest on the show. We'll do this again. Yeah,
let's. And you know what? I'm going to reciprocate and have you on my show too, because I think that would be great, and then we can hear all about you, and you can share some stuff as well. I think that'd be fantastic. So yeah, thank you for having me. It's been so cool. And you know what? I've got to be on my comfort zone. I might feel comfortable doing it again.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Wow, wasn't that fun? Learned a bunch of stuff. Be childlike. I totally get into that. And one of the things you could do to be childlike is to be wonderful. And you and the wonderful is big on purpose, because you are wonderful and you are unique. So don't ever forget it. If you know of somebody that would be a great guest, has a story that you feel that the world would like to hear, by all means, introduce them to me. Send an email to phil@coachphil.ca, and we can have a conversation and meet them and share their message with the world. It's amazing what we can do and who we can touch and who we can reach out to. So until next time, I'm Coach Phil with the Business Renovator.
I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking